Let's settle this once and for all. Which is easier, knitting or crocheting? And fair warning, the answer might not be what you think. Here are two nearly identical patterns, but one is knit and one is crochet. Can you spot the difference? Knitting uses 2 needles and you have all of your stitches live on your needle at the same time, while crochet uses just 1 hook and you typically only have 1 active loop at a time. But which is easier? This debate has raged on for as long as these crafts have existed. And in fact, I just had a friend reach out to me and she's wanting to learn to knit or crochet and she's not sure which to try. Here's the short answer. It depends on what you learn first, how and when you learn, and what your motivation for knitting or crocheting actually is. But there is a little bit more nuance to it than that. To settle this debate, I did some very scientific research. I Googled it. Google said crochet's easier because you only have 1 hook and there's less fear of dropping a stitch. It's a pretty bold statement because I'm pretty sure Google has never actually crocheted. I also asked our community and the answers were incredibly diverse. Some of you insisted that knitting is way easier because you're basically repeating the same stitch over and over and you don't have to figure out which hole to stick your needle in like you do in crochet. And some of you insisted that crochet is so much easier because you only use 1 hook and there's far less fear of dropping your stitches because you can rip out a lot more easily in crochet versus knitting. And I also looked back on my own personal experience so I could give you my personal opinion. When people are first learning to knit or crochet, I believe that knitting feels just a little bit harder during this initial stage. Because you're managing 2 needles and you have all these live stitches that want to escape and you're working movements that can feel a little bit awkward at the beginning. You're literally pulling loops of yarn through other loops, but with a straight pointy needle. So it can feel a little strange if you've never done it. And I did want to mention too that before you even start knitting, you actually have to cast on so that you have loops to knit into, and then when you're finished, you have to learn to bind off so that your work doesn't unravel. The cool thing is you only need to learn a couple of basic stitches to get started. Crochet, on the other hand, uses just 1 hook to pull the yarn through the loop. Though some folks say they have trouble knowing which hole to stick their hook into and their projects tend to grow or shrink as they go, you typically only ever have 1 live stitch at a time, which means that fewer things can go wrong right away and it's so much easier to rip back your work should you make a mistake. So when you're in the newbie phase, in my personal opinion, crocheting seems just a weensy bit easier for most people. It definitely was for me. Another thing to think about is how you prefer to learn. So if you like an actual person teaching you and helping you should you get stuck, you might want to find someone in person that can show you how to knit or crochet. Then you might find either of those crafts easier to learn if you have an actual person there to teach you how to do them. But if you prefer to learn on your own with a YouTube video or a book and someone tries to teach you either craft, you might get a little frustrated or confused and thus feel that that craft is too hard or not for you. But really, you just need to decipher which way you learn best and go with that. We also have to talk about when you're learning these crafts. If you learned one of these crafts when you were little, but then as an adult you learn the other one, you might find that the craft you learned when you were younger feels a little bit more natural and a little bit easier. For me, I learned to crochet when I was a little girl, so it feels like my first language and it just comes so naturally. But then I learned to knit as an adult, and even though I'm very proficient and I can do advanced techniques, it always feels a little bit like my second language, if you will. And ultimately, you have to ask yourself, why are you wanting to learn to knit and crochet in the first place? Knowing your motivation makes it so much easier to persevere should you get confused or discouraged, thus making that craft easier. Do you want to make luscious sweaters that resemble store-bought garments? Do you want to make beautiful cable knit hats and scarves? Do you want to explore traditional knit fabrics like Fair Isle? Are you wanting a hobby that feels meditative and rhythmic with a soothing click, click, click of your needles and speed is not necessarily your focus? Do you want to learn to knit because your mom or your grandma or your auntie used to knit? If so, you might want to try knitting. Or do you want to make more structural items or pieces with thicker fabric? Perhaps you love the look of a gorgeous granny square. Maybe you enjoy the idea of freeform or 3D projects. Or you really have a need for speed because maybe patience is an issue, like me. Or you just want to make beautiful projects that you can sell at craft festivals. Or someone you love crochets and you want to connect with them. If so, you're going to want to try crochet. Here's what I would say. If you want fast wins and less fear of making mistakes, try crochet. If you want a rhythmic craft and fabric that mimics store-bought sweaters, try knitting. But if you want to do all the things, learn both. Learn both because there are so many beautiful patterns out there in both crafts and you are going to want to make them all. And if you do want to learn both, we have this gorgeous pattern available in both knit and crochet. Puraka is the knit version and Rachaka is the crochet version, both made in our beautiful Chakra Hues Twisted Tweed Sport weight yarn. I'm so curious, can you tell which is which? To me, the knit version feels a little bit more fluid, a little bit more drapey, and the fabric is just a little bit thinner and a little less textured. The crochet one is just a little bit more structured the fabric feels just a little bit thicker, so it creates a slightly different look and feel. So they're both different, but just both so beautiful. But whatever you do, my friend, don't give up. Knitting and crocheting take time to learn. You need to develop the fine motor skills and the muscle memory, and that can take a few weeks of steady practice. Even then, your projects might look a little wonkadoodle. Mine sure did, and that's okay, because before you know it, you're gonna be whipping out dozens of gorgeous projects that you can keep or give to those you love, and you won't regret this time spent learning. And if you would love to check out more of our gorgeous patterns, you can find Puraka and Rachaka, as well as hundreds of more gorgeous items over at ExpressionFiberArts.com. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for email and for text update or weekly free knit and crochet patterns. And now I would love to hear your answer. If you're someone who's been crafting for a little while and you've tried both, let me know which one you find easier and why. Go ahead and post in the comments, because your insights just might change someone's crafting life. And if you are brand new to either craft, we do have free beginner knit and crochet videos for you, and we're gonna link to them below. Have a beautiful, shining week, and I will see you next week with another new design. Bye!